Michigan is at the center of the college football world for all the wrong reasons right now. Well, I guess not all wrong reasons. They happen to be number one in the country in the JP poll coming later tonight, but also what's going to happen with Michigan? I know some of you have gathered bits and pieces of this story. Here's like a little 20-second version. Michigan is being accused of illegally stealing other teams' signs. Now, everyone does it. You're going to hear people say that every day the rest of this investigation. Well, everybody does this. Everybody doesn't buy tickets to go scout teams and record the opposing sideline via iPhone in the stands. No, everyone doesn't do that. So that's what they're accused of. That is illegal. You cannot do that. Well, it's against the NCAA bylaw, at least. You can't do that. And we've had a lot of reporting on it. Dellinger and company have had stuff. Pete Thamel just put something new out on ESPN.com a little while ago. So my current stance on this has been a really funny thing, because my current stance has both sides thinking I've got their back. I got Michigan folks, when they hear what I have to say, saying, thank you so much. And I'm like, what do you think? I just absolved you? And then the other side, we got basically every other Big Ten fan base with a torch in one hand and a pitchfork in the other, thinking I'm also agreeing with them that death is on the doorstep of Michigan athletics. And so let me just tell you what I think, and I will go over several details here. Okay, so ESPN's Pete Thamel, just the latest reporting on this as of the last hour. The NCAA is being presented evidence by several Big Ten schools that Connor Stalions, who is the somewhat shady character at the center of this investigation from Michigan, Connor Stalions bought tickets for 35 or more games at 17 different schools. Now, the big news later this afternoon that was reported was this is not just within the Big Ten anymore. There are schools outside the Big Ten that Michigan perhaps was going to play. Think Clemson, for example. Think other teams that they may have faced in the college football playoff that this dude was also buying tickets to games of. And the entire premise is you buy tickets, you put whoever you're going to put in those seats, they take their fancy phone, and they zoom in on the other side, and they just record the sideline. All right, now what does that lead to? It leads to an unfair advantage, and therefore it's banned. You can't do it. You can't use electronics to be gathering signals, and you especially can't be planting people in the stadiums that feature teams you're going to play in the future. Like, if you are not caught up already, that's what's going on. So, nose itches. So, anytime there's a scandal in major college athletics these days, you get hot Twitter evidence. I don't call it X yet. So you get hot Twitter evidence. Jesse, do we have the latest hot Twitter evidence that's making its rounds today? So this is footage from field level of Ohio State playing Michigan last year. And you see Ohio State's checking out of a play, and Michigan's looking to the sidelines. And what you have over there is you have Connor Stalions parked right in the ear of Jesse Mentor, the defensive coordinator, and the insinuation is they know pass is coming. Now, for the record, this next play resulted in an Ohio State touchdown. So if that was the case, it turned out that it didn't go Michigan's way. The game went Michigan's way. But this is hot Twitter evidence today. I'm being told this is evidence. This proves something. That doesn't prove anything, nor does this picture prove anything. This is where the Michigan folks start to think I have their back. I'm just telling you the truth. What you see here, if you're listening on podcast, is Connor Stalions' hand holding a laminated sheet, and it quite literally has cartoon figures that represent different hand signals that could be being given. I have very little doubt what that is a guide for opposing teams' signals and an easily decipherable guide there on the sideline so they can know what's coming. I have no doubt about that. Just like I have no doubt the video we just saw shows the dude reading the opposing team's signals and helping the coordinator get the right play in, or at least trying to. I have no doubt about that. That is not the smoking gun you're looking for here. You're looking for the fact that information was obtained through illegal channels. That's what you're looking for. That video doesn't show you any of that. That video doesn't show you anything more than any other staff does. Pretty much every major staff has got a guy parked on their sideline. You don't know their names right now, but pretty much every staff has someone over there. Georgia's got one, Bama's got one, Ohio State's got one. They all got them, and their job is to pick up signals, and their job is to gain a competitive advantage. I mean, this is not even the first time you guys have heard about this. I don't know if it made its way into the mainstream because, frankly, I can't remember which stories have and haven't broke. Clemson was notorious for this. when Brent Venables was at Clemson. Everybody was paranoid about it. Now, what we didn't ever hear was Brent Venables bought tickets for 35 different games in 17 venues and obtained that information illegally. So my point is, you got to bring me that. Now, it may sound like I'm very cautious on this. I am very cautious on it because I've seen this happen before. I have seen there be an axe to grind against a person or a university. I have seen a lot of hatred towards a person or a university, and you just kind of hear what you want to hear, and then your mind puts the rest of the puzzle pieces together, and you crystallize worst case scenario for that hated entity in your mind. And so there are a lot of folks out there who have no doubt that Michigan is going to crater into the ground in the not too distant future. So I'm not there yet in terms of being sure. And I take this microphone, I take a fair amount of responsibility as to what I utter into it, believe it or not, because I know it resonates a little bit. And so I'm not going to be that guy tonight. Well, that's the part that I want to point out to you. Because that part where I'm saying I personally, like me sitting here personally, I haven't seen enough to determine that, hey, Michigan's screwed. That is taken to mean, well, he's carrying water for Michigan. I'm not at all. Here's the follow-up. Having said everything I just said, there is no way details are done emerging on this. No way. I've got several thoughts on it. First thing I think is I think they did it. That's the first thing I think. I don't have proof of it, though. I think they did it. Second thing is, you guys can hate on the Pete Thamels of the world all you want to. You can go back to like the Manti Te'o days and point out where he got a story wrong. I can point to 500 examples where he nailed one as well. So Pete Thamel's not the dude whose reputation or veracity of reporting you probably want to be going up against. And when I'm reading his work today, and he's saying the NCAA is being sent over an hour of film, specific surveillance footage of people in the seats that were purchased by Connor Stallions recording the opposing sidelines, when I hear that there are double-digit Big Ten member institutions cooperating and sending in evidence, I don't doubt that. And I think it's true. I think they did it. I think Michigan's going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm just telling you, on my desk right now, as we sit here on Tuesday night and it's 7:10, I hadn't seen that. So, I'm not stamping it because I'm not the one reporting it. I'm almost certain, though, what is being reported will be corroborated and backed up officially as part of the evidence they gather in this investigation. Sounds like that's going to ramp up a lot more next week. So I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on that. But the crux of all this, if I'm a Michigan fan, I feel like the whole world's out to get me. They are. I feel like a lot of people have an axe to grind against me and my head coach. They do. You're not wrong about that. But that's not how you dismiss the claims. You dismiss the claims by proving they're false. I don't really care how many people hate you. I don't really care how many people have axes to grind. Is what they're saying true? That's all that matters. The government uses horrifically flawed people to turn state's evidence all the time. It doesn't matter if they're terrible. It doesn't matter if they themselves are criminals. It matters if what's coming out of their mouth is true. Oftentimes, those with axes to grind are the most motivated truth tellers. Not all the time, but sometimes that's the way it works. Another thing I think is it's become pretty popular on message boards the last few days to just assume that you know the source or the sourcing, maybe multiple sources that, for lack of a better term, ratted you out. I wouldn't be so sure about that. I wouldn't be. I've just watched this play out too many times in the past and then gotten privy on the back end to some information. Not in this case yet, but going off past history, I've been part on the front end of that widely held narrative of just assuming you know who's responsible for diming someone out. And then you get the curtain peeled back a couple of years later after it's died down and you find out, wow, I wasn't even close. The public wasn't even close on this. And this detail will never come out. I strongly suspect these details will never come out. And so it'll just widely be assumed that Ryan Day's been texting back and forth with reporters all day, and it'll just widely be assumed that Ohio State's at the center of this. I get why people think that. I can't prove you're wrong. You can't prove you're right, though. I don't think you can prove you're right either. Plausible deniability is a concept I think pretty much everyone gets. This is me turning the page for a second. Plausible deniability is that thing where if you're at the top of something and you want to make sure that you can reasonably and truthfully one day say, I didn't know, you make sure you have people underneath you who are handling the dirty work and who don't need to be in your ear every 5 minutes asking you for permission. Should I do this? Should I not do that? You got to have soldiers who carry out the game plan, sight unseen, questions unasked. Well, that is a concept as old as time. That's not something new that all of a sudden, if you're practicing, NCAA investigators run into and say, oh man, they had plausible deniability figured out. I guess Harbaugh didn't know. They got you nailed either way. If the reporting is true, they've got you nailed either way. Because either you did know and you lied, or you didn't know and you're doing a terrible job of leading a program. Because if you didn't know, that means you didn't know what your own staff was doing. They invented that whole lack of institutional control thing to kind of circumvent you thinking you had them gamed with plausible deniability. So thus far, all of this is still behind closed doors. Evidence is being presented. I, as of this moment, have not personally seen anything that makes me think hammers dropping on Michigan tomorrow. I have, right along with you, read a lot of things that indicate it could drop on them. My advice to a Michigan fan, as hard as this may be, is just shift into last dance mode. Just shift into enjoying the heck out of this season. You probably got the best team in the country right now. You're the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. You got the Heisman favorite. I would let 2024 be a cliff that I can't even see over right now. I'm 2023, just like Bulls fans were in 97 or 98, and then we'll worry about the future when it comes. But everyone's talking about the NCAA with Michigan right now. And I'm telling you, that's in the distance. That's 2024 at the earliest before you ever get any punishment from them. If you do, I'd be way more concerned with what two other entities do to me. My own conference, because there are mechanisms that they can use to act on swiftly if need be. And number two, what's the College Football Playoff Committee going to have to say about this? That's an angle I thought of as soon as I started reading this story. NCAA moves like molasses in December. I'm not worried about them. That'll be a long way down the road. But the College Football Playoff Committee is about to unveil their initial rankings next week, I think. Are they going to use this as part of their criteria? Are they going to bake that in? I'm sure they've got language loose enough to where if they really wanted to, they could hold this against Michigan. Because these people are like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall to begin with. So there will be methodology at their disposal should they choose to punish Michigan for this, or I think they could. Will they? It'd be unprecedented, obviously. But what is that committee? That committee is just a bunch of folks from different colleges all around the country. You think there may be some anti-Michigan bias there? You think there may be some motivated axe grinders in that room? That would concern me. If I lived up there in Lansing, Michigan right now, that would concern me a lot more than the NCAA. Whew. So I say all that to say Thursday night, we could have a new plate full of information. But as for now, let's just be a little patient on it. Just because everyone's saying the same thing at the moment doesn't make that thing true. Or everyone could be saying the same thing because they've all zeroed in on it and they got the same reliable sources. Don't know, because it's played out both ways in the past, so we don't know. We'll see.